Hi everyone, my name is Phyllis and I'm the owner of Moody Quilting Fabrics. Um, Today I thought I would do a small little tutorial on how I do these little blocks. I've put together a few blocks. This is a really fun project. I had a friend of mine who did, I think she did bigger blocks. These blocks are cut at 3.5 square, because this circle is quite small. I think she did bigger circles and slightly bigger blocks, but she decided quite a few years back she was going to do one of these little blocks a day to have 365 days, 365. I don't know if she did the whole 365. But anyways, she really enjoyed it. So and she had fun doing it, and it was all from her stash. And right now the ones I'm doing, like this one's already sewn, and I'm using whites, off whites, creams and things like that from my stash. I think she did all different backgrounds and blocks. So she would do some dark backgrounds with light circles on top and vice versa. And she just did the whole thing from her stash. But I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do, if I'm going to continue doing these. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to show you how to do it with the Applipops, and also with Karen Kay Buckley's Perfect Circles. Now, Karen Kay Buckley has 2 packages of circles. She's got bigger Perfect Circles, the original one with tiny ones, up to I think slightly bigger than that. And then she has these are perfect leaves. They're very tiny. And she also has perfect ovals. So what I'm going to do is I'll put these links down below for you. And I'm going to show you now, starting with the Applipops. And this set came with several different sizes. This one that I'm making is actually the largest size, which is this size here. And the size that I'm doing for these blocks, that's the largest size that's physically in the Applipops. And you need 2 rings because they nest together to be able to put the finish off the edge and put the seam allowance on the inside. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So let's move over to the overhead camera and see how these just nest together. So what I'm going to do, the smaller size of the 2 are the size that we're doing. This one is just a ring to be able to nest them together. That's all this one is used for. So we're going to put that one down, and then we're going to put the fabric on top. Now I've cut this way bigger than I need, and I'm okay with that. And then we're going to slide this in here, and it seems to be clicked into place. And now we're just going to rough cut. And I actually do a bigger seam allowance than the 1/4 inch, especially if the circle is much bigger. If the circle was a little tiny, I would go a little tinier with the seam allowance, obviously. Now, the next thing we want to do is we want to wet this a little bit, because we're going to iron this in. I'm just going to make sure my iron is heated up, and it is. And I'm not using steam for this because this has some liquid inside. It's a felt pen with a felt tip that you can replace. And this is called Acorn Precision Piecing Easy Press Pen. and it opens up here, and you can pour in the treatment, which is like an alternative to starch inside there. And then you can just go in and wet all this. Now, if you don't have this, you can use other methods to get your fabric wet. And I'm probably using more, and you press down to release more liquid if you don't find, but I'm probably wetting this more than it needs to be. But I rather have a little bit more wetness than not enough. I'm just saying. All right, so that should do it. And now, and be careful when we do this, because the metal rings get hot, obviously. So I'm just going to slowly and carefully try to iron this into place. And I'm just holding it. Eventually I won't be able to touch this with my fingers. And I hope you can see that I'm being very careful. And soon I'm going to have to start using maybe my scissors to turn this. Yeah, soon I'm going to have to start using the scissors. This is probably just way too wet. And I'm just going to continue playing with this till it starts to hold itself. And I'm just doing it really carefully because I don't want the two rings to come apart. And I'm using my scissors to hold things in place so it doesn't move on me while I start. See, now it's starting to really hold itself. So I'm just going to turn this a little bit more. It's not very hot yet, but it can get really hot. Yep, but I hope that's okay. I'm just going to keep this on there and make sure that it looks pretty good. This might work better with a much smaller travel iron. It might be easier with a travel iron. So there it is. I'm going to just put this over to one side and let it cool off because I don't want to touch it. And now I'm going to show you how I do it with the Kay Buckley Perfect Circle kit. Get a mechanical pencil. This is all I can find in my studio. I don't know what happened to my mechanical pencils. I think I have to go out and buy some more. But we're just going to trace here. This is what we're going to do. We're just going to trace carefully. And of course, I have way more than I need. So now I have my inner circle, and I'm just going to use scissors and and again, I'm cutting a little more than probably I need, but that's okay because it's a bigger circle. If it was a smaller circle, I think maybe we should cut a little less than what I'm doing, or closer to the 1/4 inch, or just under a 1/4 inch, the smaller the circles. All right, so then we're going to baste, and I'm going to show you what that looks like. Let me grab this. So this is based, and you're going to take tiny little stitches in here and all the way around, and I'm doing quite tiny because I want to make sure that it gathers up nicely. And I think that's it. And now we're going to take that circle again and put it inside, and then we're just going to pull the basting stitch till everything is tight. And now I'm just going to give this, oops, I'm spraying everywhere but on the thing. You can use the pen again to wet it, and make sure that you starch it. And I'm just going to give this another pull. I'm going to hold that, and I'm going to take my iron. Now I have this iron set, no steam, between medium and closer to halfway than full heat, because we don't want to damage the circle inside. And I'm just going to continue ironing that till it's dry. And there we are. Now, of course, it doesn't look even because I didn't really cut it evenly. I did not cut it evenly. All right. So now that that's still not quite dry, but okay, so I'm just going to let, oh, I think that's dry now. Just going to hit it a little more on the, okay, this, I think that's cooled off too. So I'm just going to let that cool off a little bit. So this one is cooled off, and all you have to do is pop out the ring. And because you used an alternative starch, it stiffens that up a little bit, but doesn't make it impossible to work with. So there's the first circle using the Applipops. Like I said, there's two sets. This set came off of this, and they each of these rings, let me show you. Each of these rings on each of these things will nest inside, and you can go down as small as that. So if you wanted to make this inner one, you would use, of course now I can't get them. Okay, you would use, if you wanted to make this size, you would use this as your outer ring. If you wanted to make this size, you would use that for your outer ring. And if you wanted to make this size, you would use that as the outer ring. And if you wanted to make that size, which is the size, I think, is that the size? Yeah, that's the size we did. You're using the last ring to sandwich it. There is no ring. There's no ring for that. And this is another set slightly smaller than this set. So it's the same concept, except it's a tad smaller. So you have several sizes with these Applipops. And if you don't like basting, this can be fun. And you can set yourself up with a wool mat on a table in front of the TV and a tiny little miniature iron like this, and go at it, and make a whole bunch and everything. So now this is ready to pull out, and you have to be a little carefuler with this. And I'm just slowly, there we go. And I'm just going to give this another little pull, just a little bit to bring it back in. And then I'm just going to hit that with an iron. And I'm just going to take my basting thread, and I'm just going to pull it through here, and I'm just going to tie this off. a little bit and call it a day. I'm making sure I'm only staying within the seam allowance because I certainly don't want this thread showing through. If I was doing this, I would basting, I'd probably use an off-white or an ivory to baste it. But there's your two options. They basically would take the same amount of time to prep all your circles. But like I said, it would be really fun to prep them in front of a good movie with a table, an ironing wool mat with a small little ironing board. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to get it to be secure on this background fabric. So I'm going to eyeball. Let me just move that up. So this is not done. So I'm going to show you what I use. I use the Acorn Precision Seam Align Glue, which is this one. You can use this one. I personally prefer this one over the Roxanne glue, though the Roxanne glue is very, very good. I just prefer this one. And the reason why I prefer this one is because this little nozzle, no matter what, it doesn't get clogged. If it does, it's not very long here, and you can open this up and take a regular needle and just poke it down through there, and poke it this way to loosen up and get any gunks that might get in there. But I've never had a problem of this gunking up. The Roxanne glue, I find that no matter what, the glue dries inside this section here. I don't know if you can see that. I've had this one for a while, and it's a very good glue, don't get me wrong. But I find that it gets dried up in this section here, and no matter how hard, I cannot, if I do not clean that out in between uses, it sticks up in here and it stays in this tube, and it's really hard to unclog, even if, and right now I think it is clogged. I'm seeing something there. There we go. I just find that no matter, even if you put on this little stopper thing, it still dries up in there. Whereas this one, I've never had it dry up, and I've been using that for a while, and I've never had it dry up. What I find happens is when you turn it back up this way, the glue is liquidy enough that it just kind of drops back down through, and it doesn't clog up. And like I said, if it did get clogged up, I just would put a pin through there that fits through the little nozzle. So now what you want to do is you want to glue, and I'm just going to glue this slightly on the inside, away from the edge of the, so it doesn't get into my sewing field. I don't mean to cover it with my head. There we go, and that's just gonna, there we go. And then we're going to continue. And just a little bit more here. And then what I want to do now is I want to hit that with an iron, because I want to dry the glue. And so we're just hitting that with an iron. Till it dries. Okay, so this one has just been glued, and it's not going to fall off. It stays on long enough to get it to be glued. Now, once you have a whole stack of these done, you can take and hand applique them again with a good movie going on. And like I said, my girlfriend, she would prep, I think she would prep about 7 one day for the following week. And every morning after her breakfast, she would, and she'd have all these prepped, 7 of them prepped for the week. And maybe she might end up doing more than that if she had time. And she would just hand applique this down. Now I'm doing an applique stitch. And you know what? I'm going to switch out my glasses to my actual working glasses because I can see better with those. So what you're doing is you're just checking, like you're just hand appliquing them. I don't know if you can see those stitches. Okay. And it doesn't take long to do. So what I'm doing is I'm pulling my thread back and I'm going right slightly under the piece that I'm appliquing because I don't want these stitches to show. And so I go slightly under, but beside where the thread has come out of the piece that I'm appliquing, I'm taking a little bit of I'm moving over by a little bit. And then I am taking a small little chunk of the piece, the circle that I'm appliquing down, and I'm going to continue doing that all the way around. And trust me, it does not take long to make a whole bunch of these. Now, if you do the hand basting the Kay Buckley way, you could prep a whole bunch of circles and just hand baste them, and then the next in front of the TV the next day you can prep them and iron them and just do a whole bunch of them and get them ironed, or you can prep and do the basting while you're watching TV and have a little wool mat and a little table with a tiny little iron like I was saying earlier, and you can still do this in front of the TV and prep all your stuff, and then you're ready for the week. And all you have to do is sew one a day. And by the time you're finished the year, you will have 365 little blocks with circles on them. Now, the other thing that is, these are only cut at 3.5 by 3.5, and I did that because of the size circle that I've chosen to work with. Now, if I find that they're too small, then I can go back into my stash and put a border around with all different colors around each one and make them a little bit bigger, and it just gives a little bit more of a difference of a look. So it's so much fun to work with such an easy shape, and it will make such a fun quilt. And I'm just sitting here getting into my zone here, and I'm just stitching away, and I am about halfway through the circle as I was talking with you guys. So this is what it looks like after it's all sewn. And I'm not going to cut this apart. Like, I'm not going to cut that off. I'm going to leave it. It's not a big deal. I machine quilt with the long arms, so I'm not going to cut those apart. I'm just going to do those. So that is it for today. And I hope that this was fun. It's not hard. I will put the links down below for Kay Buckley's Perfect Circles, Ovals, and Leaves. And I will also, these are not in stock, but if you're interested in to get the Applipops, they're not cheap, but you could let me know by email, and we can make arrangements for a deposit on them, and then I can make an order. So I hope to see you on the next tutorial or share day, and we'll see you, and happy quilting. Bye bye.